Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele. I'll be your nerd today, and any other day that you choose to watch one of my silly little shows. So I like to start every episode with, obviously, if you're an old school fan, you already know this, but I like to start every episode with a little. Oh, my beard's all wacky. Just see that on camera. Got like one weird curl here. I'm growing it out for a acting gig, and there we go. That's gonna bother me the entire time. Maybe I'll Photoshop it out. If you can't handle me at my beard's worst, you can't handle me at my beard's finest. All right, so as I was saying, if you're one of my subscribers and you already knew this, I like to start every episode with The Week in Bryan. So this week's been really kind of eventful, actually. Got to put some words down on a page for the Warzone Eternal lore section of the rulebook. So we're getting closer. Got to we'll deal with this a little more in the episode, but got the edit pass notes, the professional edit notes for Tourist Traps, the one that I already did, for as yet unnamed or as yet announced Shadowrun novel. It's got a name, but I can't tell you what it is yet. So that we'll talk about that in the episode, and then of course I'm still just wading through one of the Transformer RPG's adventure arcs. It's just solid. Doing a lot of painting, doing a lot of after hours painting commissions. Using a lot of my brand new sponsor, Turbo Dork. Using a lot of their stuff. God, I love their paints, and I know, it's a sponsor, and they want me to say this, but I would say it anyway. I dig their stuff. I don't use a lot of it for like mainstay colors. Like there's not I just recently did a pair of gargoyles in black ice, the new black metallic, and then I just did 2 pinpricks of bright neon yellow in the dark like the dark wells of their eyes. So they're super creepy. Now they're on a terrain piece. But so that's pretty cool. But yeah, like the Turbo Dork stuff. If I did a lot of model cars or a lot of vehicles that need to look, fancy, and if there was a Fast and Furious miniatures game, they would be perfect. But I just I use them a lot for accent metals. Here's something I want to stand out as, on a model, but I don't want to necessarily have it break the color scheme. I'll find one of the amazing metallics that's in the same color palette as the rest of the model, and so now suddenly there's this one spot, a predominantly crimson model has this one spicy meatball. It's a name of of the bait, or ground is lava, or something like that. One of those red metallics on a particular object, like a sword or maybe the barrel of a gun or something like that, that'll make it pop. So I've been doing a lot of that. Also, as a reminder, I'm doing the October comment random draw to send you some gifties. So be aware and comment. Talk about the stuff. Get your entry in. I want to be able to give this cool stuff away. That's work stuff. Play wise, I got to. Let's see. I got to. No, the Waking Realms was canceled. Curse of Strahd was canceled. A lot of people are very busy around these parts. A new season started on Sea of Thieves on the Xbox, dealing with a bunch of undersea vaults and things, and I haven't really gotten into it. I've been too busy. I haven't really dove deep. No pun intended. but a good pun nonetheless. Um, and been playing a lot of tabs with my son, the totally accurate battle simulator on Xbox. That's about it. It's been a lot of work. Trying, did a little house repair stuff. Had to pay a guy to fix our sump pump. For those of you who don't know what a sump pump is, basically there's a hole in my basement that collects water, so that way the basement does not flood, and the pump, that is the sump pump takes that water and puts it, basically sends it back out into the sewer, when it gets too full. But ours basically blew up, so I needed to get a new one. I got a price quote on fixing my TV. I don't know if I told you or not, but the LED lights on our big screen TV are dying. I know everything comes with the cost. I got to fix my car next to it's, yeah, meh. But the LED on our primary TV are dying, so that, like, 1/4 of the TV started to go real dark, and then the quarter beneath it started to go real dark. You can still see stuff if it's a lighter screen, but if it's a night scene, or if it's particularly dark in a video game or something, that half of the TV is just about useless. But I did call an electrician, or a TV repairman, and they still exist, by the way. And it's not going to be as expensive as I thought it was to fix it. So probably in my next decent paycheck, I will get my TV fixed, which is awesome. This is something that I'm very excited about. Additionally, I told you guys that I was going to keep you up to date. I have officially, as of this morning, there were some last couple of days. There's a little bit of backslide. I have lost 26 pounds ever since I started doing this low carb thing. It's hard. It's very hard. But it is. I'm starting to see differences, not just this, numbers on a scale. Sometimes when you see the numbers, you're like, why don't I look any different? I'm actually starting to notice a few different, differences in how my clothes fit and things like that. I got a long way to go, though, so hopefully you guys will be able to stick with me and watch me slowly shrink away to the size of a normal human being right here on the channel. On that same note, the low carb note, I'm hoping I started an email dialogue yesterday with, oddly, hopefully if it goes through, be great, a sponsor for the show of a low carb food that I eat almost religiously, and I would love to kind of wave the banner for anybody out there that wants to cut sugars and carbs out of their diet, need higher protein, things like that. I'll hopefully I'll start telling people about it on an official basis, but I don't want to ruin anything or jinx it, so I'm not gonna get real deep into it. Just know that hopefully I'll be reading at least one cool commercial for food on our wonderful show, which is exciting. It's this show started out as a way for me to fight my depression from being let go from a steady job, and now I might be telling you to eat particularly a particular brand of low carb food. Who knew? I need you to take a drink. Speaking of low carbs. So, that's pretty much the week in Bryan. I mean, I don't want to be like, I'm boring, but I haven't done a lot. Done a lot of work, a lot of painting, a little bit of relaxation. That's about it. Tomorrow, or or rather, when this comes out today, I get to run my miniature intensive D&D game for my friends down in Indianapolis. I'm excited. They are getting very close to the first real big plot point. Yeah, they've run into a few plot things here and there. They've run into some encounters that might remind them, oh, okay. They might think they know some of the plot, but they're about ready to get like a big fat dose of plot arc here, if not tonight, in the next session. But I also get to show I'm doing this particular game is very miniatures heavy, so all the encounters, even some of the social ones, have minis, and I'm eager to see what they think of some of the things that are going to appear in front of them. Sorry, my eyeball itches. It's bugging me. It's messed up. So I get to run that. This weekend is a cool thing that happens here in the Lafayette area of Indiana, called the Feast of the Hunter's Moon. It is at Fort Weatnan, outside of town. It's a very historic fort that was used to house Lafayette's troops when they went into basically all the stuff surrounding the Battle of Tippecanoe, Prophet, Tecumseh, the whole 9 yards. Which I'm going to go a little bit of a side thing. It's been a long time since I did so, but I used to run a Werewolf the Apocalypse game, a LARP. It was like 30 plus people here in the area, and I did a ton of research on. If you're not familiar with Werewolf, Werewolf has a lot of Native American backgrounds in it, a lot of First Nation stories that are kind of interwoven into the werewolf stories, and so I thought it made perfect sense that the background of this area for my game should go hand in hand with the background of the First Nations in this area, which have a very deep history, dealing with the spirit of the river, dealing with the general that was at Fort Weatnan, Tecumseh and his brother Prophet, Prophet's Rock itself, where Prophet would give his speeches, the slaughter of the local tribe, and the mysterious happenings that surrounded Fort Weatnan afterwards. All of that stuff, real honest to goodness local history. I took that and made a modification of it to fit the werewolf background, the background of the werewolf, the Greater Werewolf game, and it was awesome. It turned out really, really well. There was so many cool characters that based their family lines off of people from real local history. It was really cool. I dug it. I miss, there are times I miss LARPing, and then there are times that I remember that I'm 45 or 44. 44? How old am I? 44. There are times, and I remember, I'm 44, and LARPing is a young man's game for the most part. But I still love Werewolf, and I can't wait for it to return in a new form and fashion with the new World of Darkness. That being said, today's topic comes in the heels of something that happened this week. I received my edit notes. I received basically the edit notes for the book that I finished about a month ago or 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, I don't know, that I finished very recently, for Shadowrun. And this is not my first novel with Catalyst Game Labs through their fiction department, and so I know how this process works. But I do remember the shock that I got the first time that I got one of these edit passes on a novel, specifically the one I mismentioned earlier, Tourist Draft. I remember getting that first round of edit notes and basically just kind of closing my computer and being like, I need to go take a breather. Obviously, the editor hated my book. It was not the case. The editor was just doing their job. They if they see a character that doesn't seem to matter or needs to matter more or maybe needs to get cut altogether, they're gonna make note of it. And it doesn't mean that you have to stick by every single thing the editor says. In Tourist Draft, I had a very big part of one of the characters the editor wanted to get rid of, and I looked at my supervisor, the fiction division head, John, over at Catalyst. Thanks, John. I looked at him and was like, "This is too huge. I can't change this. I think the editor is wrong." Because it's not a grammar issue. It's not a dangling participle or anything like that. It was a major aspect of one of the characters, and their opinion was they did not like it. My opinion was it helps make the character what it is, and in the end, John sided with me and was like, "No, don't change it. Don't." And so that's where you've got to kind of find yourself when you're dealing with a professional editor. Now, the process of novel. So process of novel from start to finish. Now, this is my process when dealing with a contracted publisher. I don't have a literary agent. I don't have an agent that I deal with who sets up gigs or anything like that. I know a lot of that has to do with the fact that I do so much work in the game industry. I just basically work directly for people. I just either get a call or I call them up, or we bounce emails back and forth or whatever, but we set up a contract for a project, and there you go. But a lot of strictly authors will have a literary agent. They'll have someone who basically says, you work on writing your stuff, I'm going to run around and see if people will buy it, or I'm going to run around and talk to some of these publishing houses and go, oh hey, I've got a writer who would love to do something for you. That's their job. That's what they do. I don't have one of those. So thus far, everything that I've written has been for a company directly. And it's easier, I think, because basically I'm working for, I'm working for the company. They tell me what to do. They give me my parameters. They set the terms. And at the end of the day, everything I'm doing for them is exactly that, for them. So if their editor says, I don't see the purpose of this old dwarf woman, unless she's super important to me somehow, like it's a 2-book deal and she's going to be a huge character in the second one or something like that, I cut her. I find a way to make that scene work better, and you go in and you rewrite it and you eliminate that character. But anytime that you eliminate a character wholesale, or if you're forced to rename a character, that happens a lot too. You might have just the best idea for a character. You must have it. I love the character. And the editor goes, that's cool, the character's fine, but his name can't be Frank because it's too close to Francis, who's another one of the bad guys, and we don't want the reader to be confused, so change it. And so unless there's a reason why that name has to be Frank, you've got to go in and change every instance, every every time it pops up. And the last thing you want to do is that silly find replace in a manuscript, because you never know what might get caught up depending on what you're finding or replacing. It's how you end up with extremely weird words, because maybe what you're finding or replacing is something that is a root of a different word, or might get abbreviated in some other way. So you got to go through the manuscript. When you get your edit pass from the editors, you've got to go through that manuscript completely and utterly, down to maybe even rereading the whole thing, because it also, reading something sometimes, when you're writing, you're reading it as well, but it's different because you're thinking about the words that come next. Going back and rereading it, kind of with the notes of what has been given to you in mind, you can see a lot of different things. Sometimes I'll sit here in the studio and I'll read a sentence 2 or 3 times, once or twice in my head, and then once or twice out loud, just to see whether or not that sounds funny. You can probably catch a nasty grammar error if the word conjunction just doesn't fit. Feels wrong when you say it. Feels wrong when you say it probably isn't right. That's your knee-jerk reaction is probably the correct one, because you're used to hearing and speaking the language all the time. But yeah, so the process to get one of these is you get with the company, they set you up, you talk to, you figure out what needs to be the plot arc. Maybe you pitch one to the company, and that's how you got in, or maybe they tell you what you need to do. Whatever the case may be, is you come up with an outline for the book and you figure out what you're going to do. So I have done lots of very strict outlines where it's set, this happens and then this happens and then this happens and then this happens and this character does this. I can say pretty much with 100% certainty that I've never stuck to the entire outline. So even though I did get the outline checked with my bosses, with the supervisor, with the canon liaison or whatever, I have, more often than not, while I'm writing, something will hit my brain and go, ooh, that's better. And so I might switch things up. It's kind of like in a movie when an actor decides that he's gonna go off script because he's got a better choice in that moment. Could be true, could be not. Either way, it's something that gets done. Once I figured out what the main overall arc is going to be, I dive in, and then it's start. And then it's just basically you write it to whatever specified length you're supposed to get to, and then you turn it in, and then you wait, because that manuscript is now in the hands of the editor, your supervisor, and you wait to find out if people like it. That's not normally the editor that tells you that. Normally that's going to be like your connection to the publisher. If you've got an agent, your agent's going to tell you whether or not that's the one for you. And if you're lucky enough that you might have a company that has a test reader, they'll tell you what's going on with that. But their jobs primarily, when it comes to like the editor and the test reader, their job is to find things that are screwed up, whether it's a loose plot hole, or hey, you brought up this guy having a gun in his waistband, and 50 pages later you talk about how he's unarmed. How did he lose the gun? Or did you just forget that it was there? That's the kind of stuff that they look out for, and what ends up in the edit notes. Edit notes show up. You go through point by point, either fixing, changing, removing, whatever it needs to be, and that's what you do when you're working for someone else. If you're just creating the book on your own, like you're just self-publishing, I still highly, highly suggest getting someone else's eyes on your project. Now, make sure it's going to be somebody who is hopefully going to be watching for editorial weirdness, but also somebody who will tell you the truth if your story doesn't fit the bill, if a character falls flat or something. But you also, as a writer, you got to have thick skin. It's possible you could sit down, show somebody your, give somebody the manuscript, and like, I really appreciate your, your input on this, and then they come back, a few days later with this question or concept about the book, and you're like, where'd that come from? They're like, oh, well, that's what I think it would make for a cool thing. Again, it's the editor's job to tell you where the edit should go, what might need to be changed, and it all comes down to what might need to be changed. Because, like I said, there's times where I've looked at what the editor says and go, that's part of the charm of that paragraph, or that's what that's supposed to be. I'm not going to change it because it still hits on a good note. Once you get the edit passed on, you send it back in. Hopefully, that's the last you'll see of things before it actually gets printed and published and whatnot. But the end, that last manuscript, there's always a possibility the editor might get back in there and go, oh, I'm glad he changed all these things, but now this is wrong. So one of the things you got to be careful when you're doing your edits and your changes and things like that is, if you're going to make it drastic, people are going to have to, characters in the story, whatever you're changing, they're going to have to notice. And the reader hopefully will notice. That's the whole point. You don't want to take, if the editor says, I don't understand why he's on this bus, you go, okay, he's on, and maybe in your head, he's on the bus because of this. This is the reason. Well, then, rather than fighting the editor, you make sure that reason is now even more and better highlighted in the story. Because then the editor goes back and looks at it. They see their note and go, okay, why is it like that? And they go, oh, that's why it's like that. And then hopefully it'll move on. Because again, at the end of the edit process, you're on the doorway to publication. You're on the once you get all those edits fixed and you get it where it's as seamless as it can be, bam, you get a book. It's ready to go. Either your publisher, your agent, or whatever the self-publishing service you're dealing with. The next step is to get cover art and get it done, make it happen. Now, I have just recently received the edit pages for the novel that I just finished. It is the same editor that I had for Tourist Trapped, and I will say this. I was very sure that editor either had it in for me or was just in a bad mood that day, because the original Tourist Trap manuscript got blasted by this editor. And I went through, made the fixes, refused to do the things that were integral to a character or something, and the end result, we're getting really good reviews on Amazon for the book, and the actual company forum, people are saying really nice things about it. So it obviously worked. Now we're getting geared up for the next time that we have to take a look at the edit process. The next time I take a look at these pages, hopefully the changes that I've made are good, if all goes well. These pages, this first round of pages on the new book are actually much better. I think I learned a lot from the editing of my first book. I learned a lot of things that this editor, this time around, hopefully I avoided the problems that I had before. Again, writing is always learning. You're always learning better turns of phrase. Whatever the case may be, you're learning. You're doing better. And even right now, some of the edit sheet that I got recently for this new book, some of the editorial remarks are just notes about how much fun the editor's having reading this, or this is a really good comparison, or man, that fight was brutal. That's cool. Those are cool edits you want to see, because it's not really an edit where they're not, the editor's not saying those fights were so brutal. It's more like a happy customer who hasn't been a customer yet. You know, I know then, if they got some of these little neat notes on here of this is a cool character, this is a cool turn of phrase, love this plot twist. I know not only to keep it in the book, but also to maybe use some of that stuff to market the story a little better as well. If the story is, sorry about that. That was weird. That was a weird technical glitch. Um, I don't even remember what we were talking about. I think we were talking about the good notes on the seeing good notes in a grammar or an edit pass. I love when an editor is having fun reading your book. I love it, but it also means that I have to pay if they're enjoying the book a lot and they love the characters and they love the plot line or whatever. That means that when I get those notes that say, "Hey, this character is superfluous," or "This whole scene seems weird," if they're enjoying the rest of the book, if they're having a good time, then I'm going to probably listen a little harder when they don't. If this editor is like, "Man, this book is fantastic. I loved every minute of it." Oh, except bullet point one, this character in the bar, I don't get it. Then I need to realize that maybe in order to keep the pleasant experience of reading the story, I got to remove that guy who seemed weird. Not because he's a bad character, not because he's not involved in the plot or something like that, but because the editor says the story is good. I want to maintain that. I don't want to make hiccups of, well, it was really good except for that one bit. Blech, I don't want that one bit. I want everything to be good. So, especially in this instance, this particular book that we're doing the edit pass on is a special book that the primary character involved is, it belongs to a fan. It's actually a fan's role playing game character that I've worked into this story as part of a business arrangement, and I have to be careful not just to go in with the edit and just sweeping changes to this one particular character, because this one particular character is the essence of this book for someone else. And if they've I don't want to change things up. The last thing I'm gonna do is that this who this character is supposed to belong to, the homage to where they came from, is to make it a drastically different. I know I hate that when I go to a movie and there's a character that I'm like, man, he was so much different in the books. This is the opposite. If I am building this character, I don't want readers to go, man, I played with that guy before, or I've heard of that guy before. That's not like him, because then it feels funny and wrong. So, hopefully, the edit pass will not take long, and then after the edit pass is done, I can turn it back in and get it one step closer to you guys getting a second book. A second cool Shadowrun book that I'm actually really excited to get people. The editor seemed to really like it, aside from some stuff that I need to change. But the actual plot itself, I got nothing but thumbs up from multiple readers at this point. I'm excited. It's a solid endeavor. I apologize again for the technical issue in the middle of the video, but I do need to move along. Sadly, I've got a lot going on right now, so I'm gonna have to cut this video a little short. I think I've shown you the power and the really the worth of the editor. I hope you understand that they're not the enemy. Editors are not the enemy. Editors help make your product better. They help make what you do more fit in with the greater scheme of things, especially if you're dealing with someone else's IP, or maybe you're a team of writers. You might not know what the other writers are doing. Your editor is going to be the one that helps make that come together. Hopefully they're receiving notes to make their stuff a little more like yours. You're receiving notes to make your stuff a little more like theirs, and the end result is a kind of a cohesive attack pattern, so to speak, on the literary product in hand. As with any creative talent, editors are better than critics, in my opinion. Editors want your product to be better. They will help to try and make it better, and they will point out to you what needs to be changed to make it better. Reviewers just basically go, this is my opinion, and they point out the reason why either you should or shouldn't partake. Blech. Totally different. And making friends with your editor, or at least acquaintance, like come to the you come to the middle point and go, okay, I know you're just doing your job. Realize that writing is mine. Let's meet in the middle and come up with something awesome for the fans. That's the goal. In the meantime, so I will see you next week. But then the week after, I will probably not. The week after that, I believe, if I've got my numbers right, is Gamehole Con up in Wisconsin, where I'm running some of the Essence 20 stuff, including G.I. Joe, at Gamehole Con. That's where I'm doing some of my acting. I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun show. If I get a chance, maybe I'll see if I can't bring a different microphone. I was saying, because if I get a chance, I'll try and do a video that week. But as we found out at Gen Con, my laptop does not like to do videos for hotel rooms. But yeah, so next week we'll still have a video. I might see if I can't get their hobby rig put together to show you some cool stuff. But I don't know if that'll happen. We'll give the old college try. Worst case scenario, you'll see me back here in this spot. It's going to be another good hectic week. Lots of work. I hope you guys are doing well. I would like you to stay safe. Get vaccinated if you're not. Get a booster if you can. Wear a mask if you're indoors with a lot of people. And, have fun. Stay smiling. Stay positive. I know it's hard to do sometimes, especially when the weather has started to darken like it has. But keep a smile on your face. Enjoy yourself. And, read a book. Oh, I changed it up. Ha ha ha. No, seriously. Go to Amazon. Buy my book, Tourist Trapped. Then do a review. Hopefully you'll like it. Even if you don't, get out there, have fun, play some games. There you go. Now I did it. All right, I'll see you next week.